It's a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, you want to rock and roll? Riding on the highway, going to a show. Stopping on the byway, playing rock and roll. Getting round, getting stoned, getting beat up, break a bone, getting high, getting shook. Watch all your folks, it's harder than it looks. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. If you feel it's easy to do one night stands, try playing a rock and roll band. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll.
Good evening, race fans. I'm your host, Caden Reif, and welcome back to another installment of the 2007 season of the NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series. Here for race number 7 of 36. It's the Calder Road Course for the Cashies 400Ks. We get the second of the 2 down-under races set to roll here tonight as we take you to the racetrack right away for your starting lineup in tonight's race. On pole is going to be the number 38 car of Ryan Newman, starting in P number 1 here tonight on the road course. And Brad Keselowski's number 2 sits in P number 2 in tonight's race. Starting in P number 3, Marcos Ambrose, the home man, in P number 3, and joined by Casey Kane in that second row. The 12 car sits 4th. Robbie Gordon, winner of the last week's event on the oval, he sits in 5th, has a perfect track record at this racing facility in the Cup Series, has won all 3 races so far, looking to make it 4 here tonight. And looking in P number 6, as John Andretti is going to be in the 6th position. 7th place belongs to Boris Said's number 60. 8th place, that'll be Carl Edwards in the 19. 9th goes to DJ Kennington, the 19's teammate. And 10th will be Elliott Sadler in the 83. And 11th will be Matt Kenseth. 12th goes to Tony Stewart. 13th place, Dale Earnhardt Jr. And P14 won Pablo Montoya. P15, that'll be Jamie McMurray. And 16th goes to Kevin Harvick. 17th will be Mike McLaughlin. And 18th place is going to be Clint Boyer. 19th is going to be Todd Bodine's number 77, and Kurt Busch will be in 20th. 21st, Jason Leffler. P22 goes to Jeremy Mayfield. Jimmy Johnson will start 23rd, and Scott Riggs in the 24th position. 25th, that is going to be Kyle Busch, and Jeff Burton starts in the 26th position. Rookie Casey Mears in 27th, and his teammate Brian Vickers in 28th alongside him. JJ Yaley will be 29th, and Eric Norris P30. Ricky Hendrick will be 31st, and 32nd goes to Martin Truex Jr. Casey Atwood starts 33rd. Bobby Labonte in P34. 35th, that'll be Scott Wimmer, and 36th place goes to AJ Allmendinger. He's in the 07 car this week. 37th, Jack Sprague. And rounding out the field in the last 2 positions, Jeff Gordon, P38, and Greg Biffle, P39. Rough qualifying for those two. And once again, I've forgotten to pause the race prior to the start, so apologies for that. But I'm going to take you to the racetrack in just a moment here for your command.
Drivers.
Apologies for another technical issue. Did the same thing last week, but nonetheless, here at the racetrack at Calder Park, and the most famous words in motorsports here in just a moment.
Drivers, start your engines!
Field roars to life as we get set to roll. 39 cars is your field count here tonight. Couple of drivers that D&Q due to the smaller pit box size at this racetrack, getting points provisionals. David Rudeman's number 98, the 49 of Jacques Villeneuve, and the 89 of Morgan Shepherd. All going to miss this race on D&Qs, but the new rules put in place for any track that can't hold 42 cars. Those positions outside of the field get points, but nonetheless, it's a 48-lapper here tonight. Short out lap on the pace lap here, going to be going green right away, so not a lot of time to talk about much. But Ryan Newman and Brad Keselowski going to lead the field to the green off of the final corner here. And it is a long run down to the restart box, which is right before the start-finish line. Getting bunched up and set to go here. Road course action, long run down to turn 1 here tonight. See who comes out on top of this one. Braking zones, corners, and more. Newman and Keselowski, we're green here from Calder Park. Newman with the run out of turn 1. He's going to grab the lead as they head towards the hill. Ambrose and Keselowski side by side for second, and a spinner off the road. That's going to be the 21 of Andretti. More cars heading off the track. The 10 of Yaley goes wide with his teammate Riggs. Mayfield off the road as well. Several cars around on the opening lap. Andretti gets it back going and is back on the road, and a lot of cars down the order in the opening lap of this race.
And unfortunate for John Andretti, he started in the 6th position, a really good qualifying effort. But unfortunately for him, gonna come up short down here all the way in turn number 2.
Looking like it was Kennington who took it 3 wide up the inside on his teammate Edwards, and Edwards really kind of ran wide there into that 21 car. Gonna get an onboard here from the 60 of Boris Said behind these drivers. As this looks like Edwards gave his teammate maybe a little too much room there and got into the 21. Sent Andretti for a spin, and we saw contact between the 54, 10, and 57. As I believe that was another moment of 3 wide, and it was. And that one, not enough room for Mayfield's number 54, sends them off the road. So they all fall to the back of the field. Everybody back going. Sprague goes off the road back here. A lot of drivers struggling to find enough room in the first couple corners. But meanwhile, up in the front of the field, as we took a look at the replay, the racetrack stayed green. Newman out to the lead from the pole. Keselowski clear in 2nd. Ambrose 3rd. Robbie Gordon to 4th. And Casey Kane in P5.
Further behind them, you've got Boris Said, Carl Edwards, DJ Kennington. Boris always a threat on these road courses. That is his bread and butter. He loves going to places like this. Not a surprise to see him up here running well early in this race.
On a racetrack such as this, we always talk about the braking is more important than anything here. It is such a long run down the front stretch. Not really any tracks on the schedule that have a run like that. The only one that's going to is another new road course this year. That's Portland, which we'll be visiting later in the season. But it is such a long run down there in turn 1. We see mistakes there very often, and in fact, damage on the front of Jeff Gordon, who I believe might have made that exact mistake, locked it up going into the first couple corners, and maybe not. Looking like it might have been an accident elsewhere by the 24, who was on pit road with a lot of damage on the front of his car. Might have been contact here in the 2nd chicane, and Jack Sprague got into Gordon and sent him way out off the racetrack, and believe he might have gotten the tires. Yes, he did. Couldn't control the car in the grass and got into the tires, so that is going to be a yellow flag. Something we haven't seen terribly often at this racetrack, but the yellow will fly after that incident there with Sprague turning the 24 around. So a rough race gone worse early. Gordon qualified 2nd to last. and now is out of the race thanks to that accident.
Been so unfortunate for Jeff Gordon, someone who's always strong on these road courses. Didn't have a good qualifying effort, as you said, but was looking to make his way up through the field, and unfortunately his day going to come to a premature end very quickly.
Sprague, after going off the road there in turn number 3, was 3 wide with the 18 and 24. Gordon ran Sprague just a little bit wide, and Sprague, trying to stay off of the grass, ended up getting into the 24. Not quite enough room for him. But the yellow flag flies on lap number 4, so everybody going to bring it back around to this caution flag. And we are under yellow for the first time here tonight, as Newman has the lead from the pole. And see how things get situated here, as everybody's going to take the yellow flag. Last couple cars in. Points leader Bobby Labonte, also another driver down the order, sits 33rd, was side by side with Mayfield. Didn't quite get the nod for that spot at the line. Long pace lap before we see if anybody decides to pit early. Newman's number 38 in the lead. Skip ahead just a little bit to save you some time here. And we do see a couple pitters, as Keselowski's number 2 is going to be the first taker. About half and half, it seems like, as plenty of drivers are going to stay out. Plenty of drivers are going to come in for the fresh tires. See both the Red Bull cars, Sadler and Montoya. Kennington in, as well as his teammate Edwards. Dale Earnhardt Jr. brings it down the pit lane as well. Harvick in, Burton in, Hendrick, Mayfield, and the rest of those guys down the order. Pitting in, I believe it was fuel only for Casey Kane there, and also the 16 of Biffle, who himself was already having a rough race, is blowing up under yellow flag. So both of the bottom 2 starters with issues. Gordon out in an accident, Biffle with engine trouble, going to take him out of this race. And lap number 6 for the race leader, Ryan Newman. We'll take you to intermission here from Calder Park, the 38 in first place. Back from intermission.
Who said he... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, good. You're good. Anyway, back from intermission here. A little bit of a struggle there. But Ryan Newman in the 38 going to sit in first as we get set to go green. Marcos Ambrose restarts in second. Robbie Gordon will be third. Kenseth fourth. And Stewart fifth, the top 5. Pace car in on the left as Newman is going to bring it to the stripe here. Lap number 8 for the race leader. Waiting for the restart box as it is a long run here, but green flag flies, back underway. Good start by Kenseth from P number 4, trying to get a shot at Robbie Gordon, who now sits third. Todd Bodine's number 77 also got out of the gate well back there. Fanning out just a little bit as we race towards turn number 1. Gordon might take this opportunity to go up the inside of Ambrose for second, and he does. Side by side. Gordon out over the curbing. Ambrose trying to get the run out of turn 3, but it's an even fight between the 2 Chevrolets as they head down the hill. And around the outside this time, Robbie Gordon with the nose ahead as they head towards 6. And he's going to have that pass made. Robbie Gordon up into second. Newman pulling away from the lead, but he's got a fast dog in that 31 behind him who knows this racetrack well.
And someone who has not lost a race since we have gone to Australia. swept the weekend last year, got a absolutely electrifying win on the oval last time out. And now running in second place, going to try to run down this 38 for the lead to keep his streak alive. That 31, bad fast once again.
Once more incidents on the opening lap. I believe Kurt Busch got spun around from the top 15. He was P12. And it was an incident with Eric Norris. Looks like he cut off the 51 here just a little bit, and Norris might have not taken too kindly to that, and he definitely did not. Both of those guys went for a spin all the way to the other end of the racetrack and had to get back on the track going the other way towards turn 1. So Eric Norris not too pleased with Kurt Busch cutting him off there and spun him out, and both of these guys are a long way behind the rest of the pack now. Seen a lot of tempers early in the going here from Calder, something we didn't see a lot of last year on the road course.
And I'm a little surprised that the 51 did that. I mean, they were very far up in the order. That's just a very precarious place to be, and spinning out all the way to the other side of the racetrack, that just completely ruins both of your races, provided this race goes green, which we've seen at this racetrack, it does tend to run long. So I think that's just a very nearsighted decision from the 51.
Without a question. Front group have single filed out now after the restart, jumbled things together, and we see up at the front of the field once again Robbie Gordon on the tire tracks of Newman, who's lapping pretty well right now in that 38 from the pole. Newman, not a stranger to being competitive at these road courses. We've seen him win a litany of poles at these road courses. He is so unbelievably good at road course qualifying specifically. Of course, Newman is good at qualifying anywhere, but that 38 really always fast at these road courses and is a threat to win these things every single time. But he has probably maybe the best road course racer in the entire series right behind him in second. But Gordon's still got a gap to try and run that 38 down. He's going to have to make up some time and get up to the back bumper of that Cavellas Ford out in front of this field. Lap number 11 right now as we approach a quarter of this race completed. Two of the best on these road courses sitting first and second. Ambrose, a good road course racer. We all knew that from coming over from V8 Supercars, running in third. He knows tracks like this very well. Tony Stewart, another good road course racer, in fourth. And Kenseth, who has broken out on these road courses over the last couple of years as well, in P number 5. A lot of familiar faces up front right now.
And a lot of guys. It's been a long time for him, goes to that new team 38. It's been a story of having a lot of speed but not having many finishes to show for it. He's up there leading this race right now. Tony Stewart, it's been over a season since his last win. Matt Kenseth, it's been multiple seasons since his last win. Ambrose has never won before. So a lot of guys very, very hungry to get a checkered flag, boost their confidence a little bit. But they all have to beat that 31 of Robbie Gordon, who looks like the fastest car on the racetrack right now.
And it is worth mentioning, last year out in 2006 at this racetrack, in turn 1, clipped the grass on exit, closes the 31 back in. But we talk about it at this racetrack. Ryan Newman, he was the one who was running second to Robbie Gordon in this race a year ago and was running him down for the lead, and it was his mistake getting into the back of the 31, jacking the hood up. They had to retire that race car from second place. It was him who was competing with Robbie Gordon to try and get the win at this racetrack last year. So it seems Ryan Newman's got a hold of this racing facility, but Robbie Gordon's got just as equal of a hold, and these two absolutely by miles faster than everybody else on the racetrack right now. They really know this place better than anybody, and you can tell it with how big of a gap they've built to third. It's Ambrose still P3, Stewart sitting behind him, hasn't been able to close up to try and make a move, but Robbie Gordon closing in on Newman for the lead as we hit lap number 13.
And really, if you're the 31, you have to try and time this, because it can be hard to get moves done at this racetrack. There are a lot of chicanes, a lot of slow speed corners. You have to make sure that you're patient with it and you make that move at the right time, because you don't want to send the car in, make contact, and then end up ruining your own race So for the 31, even if he knows he's faster, you got to sit in line and wait to strike when that opportunity comes. Don't try to force something and ruin your own race.
Absolutely, and we saw it in the Saturday race that Robbie Gordon was the winner of. Every single lead change that took place in that race was because of a mistake from the leader. Every single time somebody in the lead went off the racetrack, gave the opportunity to second place. We've seen a lot of that. This racetrack's all about pressure. It's so hard to hit your marks at this place. In a stock car that's so heavy, the braking zones are so important here. You get up to such high speeds and have to have such long braking zones. And when you get into these corners, you see it there. Newman again missed turn 1. Did it a couple laps ago. He seems like he's faster than the 31 when he's consistent, but the 31 is more consistent than that 38 right now. He's been on the racing line a lot more. Newman using a bit of the curbing out of turn 3. And Robbie Gordon is piling the pressure on this 38. We talk about it at this racing facility. It's so important here. And Gordon right on the back bumper of the 38, just filling up his mirror. That's exactly what you need to do as a second place car at this track.
Yeah, and you fill up that mirror for long enough, you will eventually force them into a mistake because you make them drive harder than they want to drive. So if you're the 31, you sit there and you hound that back bumper. Eventually something's going to go your way. But if you're Ryan Newman, you have to be absolutely perfect. But I will say, if I'm Robbie Gordon, there are not many people that I would want to pass less than Ryan Newman. He is so good at making his car wide, defensively holding off positions. He does it all the time. Every driver says if there's one driver that you don't want to pass, it's Ryan Newman. So it's never going to be an easy pass on that 38 car.
A little bit of damage on the front of this 42. Tony Stewart believe he might have gotten into the back bumper of the 13 a handful of laps ago. I believe it might have been this time by on lap number 12. We've seen this a lot at this racetrack. It's so hard to get into one, and Stewart just locked it up, got into the back of the 13, and has a touch of damage on the hood of his race car. Ambrose from third also with damage now. Big dent on the back of his car. We see Stewart getting so aggressive trying to find a way around this 13. He knows he's faster. Ambrose believe he is the slowest car in the top 5 right now. Not by much, but just a little bit slower than the cars behind him right now, and he's got a couple in a line sitting right behind him. McMurray's number 40 is in this group. Kyle Busch in the 43, who has also been competitive at this track in the past. So just trying to find a way around the 13. But this racetrack, we always talk about it, it's so hard to pass here. Such long straightaways out of slow corners. You have so many big acceleration points, and it's so hard to close up because those slow corners onto the long straights are the hardest point to stay close to the back of somebody. They get out of the corner better than you, and you have to wait so long to get onto the throttle. It's all about discipline at this place, and we've seen that so far tonight. Lap number 16, Ryan Newman still in the lead. Robbie Gordon still right behind him in second, trying to make something happen for first here. Newman led every lap of this race from the pole so far. Gordon all the way up to the back bumper. Thought about moving the 38 there in turn number 6. Couldn't quite close up enough to put a little bit of a bumper to him, but he is right there on Ryan Newman for first.
Ryan Newman doing a good job to run his race and not run wide, and now that the 31 is on his bumper, I mean, we've seen him run wide a couple times, but as soon as the 31 has got there, he's started to run a little more consistently. So the 38, I think he might be slightly faster.
Ooh.
But he's gonna miss it there. Misses turn 1. Robbie looking to the inside, doesn't quite make the move, being a little patient. Has to tap the brakes there. Newman lucky to stay out front, but a big mistake there almost cost him the lead.
We've seen it. This 38 is really using up his brakes. He was so deep there into turn 1, has done it a couple times now and gotten away with it every single time. Again, I think that 38 on a single lap basis is just a little bit faster than the 31. He keeps pulling away, but every single time he does, he makes a mistake. That 31 of Robbie Gordon is just that little bit more consistent. He's just a little bit quicker in spots and really knows how to string his laps together at this place. Newman is just that little bit faster on a single lap. But Gordon is absolutely hounding the back of him and hasn't let him get out of his sights yet, but there is a lot of race left to where he can get that lead.
Well, if you hound that back bumper for long enough and you don't make a mistake yourself, eventually good things will come your way. You have to be patient. You have to not force things and end up costing yourself as a result. See
it especially there. I think Newman is just that little bit better. The spot on the racetrack, that 38 is most most quicker than that 31 car is definitely through the chicane of 2 and 3. He's just a little bit better there, a little bit tighter on his line, takes turn 3 just a little bit better. Kind of compromises his turn 2 in order to get into there a little bit better, but right there again, these heavy braking zones are really a struggle for Newman. See those brakes a-glowing. That car is really struggling to get stopped, and you see Gordon has taken advantage of that every single opportunity he's gotten. He closes back up, gets into the corner, doesn't follow him off the road, which is the number one thing you want to avoid, is being that second place car, and he's done a very good job of that, but again, hasn't been able to get the lead yet. We talk so much about how Gordon is being more consistent, but he still hasn't actually gotten the lead. That's been the number one thing so far, but he just gets that 31 stopped so much better than Newman does.
And that's something that the great road course racers are just so good at, and that's really what sets them apart, is being able to be late on the brakes, be comfortable in getting your car stopped. Because in a heavy stock car like this, especially in these new Carb Tomorrow race cars, they are extremely, extremely heavy, and they're not very aero dependent. So getting these cars stopped is very difficult on a track like this where there isn't any elevation really to help you. And when you're a good road course racer, you can really, really be comfortable on the brakes. You can go in a little later, get the car stopped and rotated, and that is what sets the great road course racers apart from everyone else.
Newman a lot faster than Robbie Gordon was that last time by. Pulled a pretty significant gap, farthest it's been over the last 5 or so, and it was Robbie Gordon who went in way too deep that time, and he just kept it on the road. That was so unbelievably close there in turn 1. Newman also went just a little bit wide in 1 as well, but not nearly as deep as Robbie Gordon went. I think he's getting a little frustrated that he can't get that lead. Newman's done a fantastic job of defense, as he always does. Led every lap of this race up to this point, but not without a challenge. And once again, Newman really starting to come alive a little bit. And again, Robbie, man, he overdrove it into 6th there, and he goes off the road. Newman pulls away even further.
Yeah, 31 got impatient. We said he couldn't do it. But they're both going to end up pitting this time, so it could net out okay. But not a mistake that you want to make on your in lap.
So Newman into the pits. Robbie Gordon from 2nd. Pits in as well. The first car to stay out is going to be Kyle Busch in the 43. Bodine follows him onto the racetrack, so Kyle Busch, first man not named Ryan Newman to lead a lap here tonight. Only comes on the pit cycles, but good move for him. Stay out and get that lap led. But the tire fall off about 2 to 3 seconds on the longest run, and we see Newman from the pole into his pit box. For Goodyear tires and fuel, and we are going to see one more pit stop in this race as Newman out of the pits, a long way in front of Robbie Gordon.
And that was a stop that they needed to have. That is a big buffer for the 38. Now he can run his race. He doesn't have to worry about looking in the mirror. Just run your lines, and provided it goes green, he should have the lead pretty comfortably into the next pit cycle as well.
And we talked about this 38 car of Ryan Newman has had a bit of an up and down season to start this year. Of course, we mentioned it was a little bit of growing pains. We always talk about these drivers coming into new teams, and Newman in that 38 machine hasn't been terribly slow. It's been a lot of top 15 runs for the 38 to start, but Newman's talked about it a lot. I want to run better than that. This is a team that, of course, we mention it over and over and over again, and he's probably tired of hearing it at this point, that 38 car won 5 races last year, but Newman is looking primed to maybe capture his first of this season if he can bring it to the stripe here, but there's still over half of this race and another fuel splash left, as the last couple cars are going to make their way off of pit road here. And Ryan Newman's number 38 back to the lead. We see a couple of drivers towards the back of the field, obviously, who have been struggling. Kurt Busch with a little bit of damage on the back of his car, I believe. Never mind, but nonetheless had gotten spun earlier on in the showing. Eric Norris up there as well. I actually believe the 51 car is lapped. Yes, he is. Him and Kurt Busch both, I believe, are lapped. So this race continues to wind on. And obviously there are a couple of cars on this racetrack that have damage from incidents. Probably you can assume that they would be turn 1 issues. Brian Vickers in the 44 with damage on the front of his car a long way back thanks to repairs. And Matt Kenseth in the 17 also lost a lot of positions, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, never mind. That would be because of the pit cycle not being finished yet. But Newman now this time back to the race lead in the 38 car. Actually, scratch that. Still a lot of drivers who have yet to make pit stops yet that might be trying to make this a one-stop race. It's Brad Keselowski in the 2 who heads the way at the moment. Apologies for the confusion there, but Keselowski in the 2 in first and still on the racetrack. So we see some split strategy in this one.
Yeah, and I mean, they're coming to lap 24 in this race. That would be halfway. Now, I don't know if... Well, if you remember, I believe on the caution, these were some of the cars that came in to top off.
That would be
so
correct,
they do
yes.
So they do have a little bit more fuel. So this potentially could work for these guys. Now, I don't know how it's going to work out with the gaps to the 38 and 31, but definitely something to watch as this race goes on. You know, halfway through, if these guys can make it another 5 or 6 laps, it's really possible that they could go to the end of this race.
It's going to be really tight here. Of course, that fuel run's about 21 laps. So these guys would have to make it a couple more extra, and we did pit on lap 5 under the yellow flag, so I believe these guys are going to start coming in. Keselowski is going to stay on the racetrack. We're going to see these guys in soon, but they're making it really close. 1 or 2 of them might have enough to make it. It's going to be tight. But we'll see how it goes for them. All of these drivers still on the racetrack. Both the Red Bull cars, Sadler and Montoya, Ricky Hendrick, Kennington, both of those Gibbs cars that we saw come into the pits, Edwards and Kennington, members of this group. And we see Burton, Riggs, also members of this group, Sprague, a member of this pack. They're not too terribly far in front of the race leaders as Newman, the net race leader, wants these guys come in for their pit stops. So lap number 25, you're getting really close to the point. If 1 or 2 of these drivers can make it one more time around, I'd say, you might have a chance of making it to the end of this race on fuel.
You really, really might, and especially if they could make it a couple more. Now, I don't know how much fuel exactly they have in the tank, but considering they pitted them lap 5, this would put them in their 20th lap, and we'll see if anybody takes it this time. Keselowski does. Junior gonna stay out.
Gonna see Junior stay. Believe he not gonna be the only one. Both the Red Bull cars 83, 84 stay out. Burton and Riggs come in, as does Sprague. So only 3 of them make it that extra time. It's gonna be Earnhardt Jr., Elliott Sadler, Juan Pablo Montoya, the drivers to watch on the fuel cycle here. They're gonna make it to 26. That is about 21 laps, so it is going to be so close. You might see one of these guys at the end of the race stay out and potentially even run out on the last lap. But all that yet to be seen, as there's still a lot of race left, close to half of it remaining. But Junior and the 2 Red Bull drivers are going to try and make it that long way. And I'm not surprised to see these Red Bull drivers trying to make this alternate strategy work. Sadler and Montoya, these 2 part of Red Bull who are not ran like really any of the teams in the rest of the NASCAR garage. This Red Bull team operates more like an F1 team. And obviously they have an F1 team, but that's the thing that we've seen these guys talk about, is that Elliott Sadler especially joining this team has ran nothing like any other organization he's ever been a part of, and for him it's been a learning experience for sure, but he likes it quite a lot, and there's a reason that he's been so competitive. That team in general has been competitive, and they are really going to go alternate here. There is nothing about that Red Bull team that's normal, and that continues to be proven here tonight. Lap number 26, taking 27, is race leader Dale Earnhardt Jr., who will yield the lead to his teammate Ryan Newman this time by, and that time not quite going to lead the lap as Jr. just got to the line before his pit box, but Newman in the 38 back to the lead.
And interesting to note, Junior's pit box is right after the start-finish line, so he was actually able to make it 22 laps just barely. So, could be very, very close at the end of this race. We're going to see them run as long as they can, potentially be a factor on the last lap of this race. So, while Ryan Newman is leading right now, he's got to be sweating a little bit because that is a strategy that it is not unheard of for that to maybe end up working.
It's going to be so close because we've got 22 taking 21 laps to go. And of course, there was the extra lap or two of fuel saving under yellow. Went green taking lap number 8, I believe it was. So it's going to be close for those drivers. Again, it's still a factor. I could see at least one of those 3 that made it all the way stay out one extra time. And again, they could run out on the very last lap. It's going to be close. If I would imagine, it's going to be either they pit in coming to the white flag or stay out and maybe run out on the last lap. But that's the gamble you take making a strategy like that and trying to make it work. And Earnhardt Jr., Montoya, and Sadler all in great spots right now. And those were drivers who were not running too bad in the middle portion of the race. Earnhardt Jr., though, now, of course, staying out that long hurts you on the tires, and Earnhardt Jr. is now outside the top 20 as the first of those guys. And car off the road, Brad Keselowski.
Keselowski, one of the guys on that strategy, going to run off the road. Yeah, just completely misses turn 1, gets into the tires here. Gonna keep it going, but a lot of damage to that 2-car.
And a rough break for him. He was running so well up to this point in the race. And the racetrack stays green. Interesting to note. So Keselowski got a big piece of that tire barrier. He didn't leave a whole lot of debris, and obviously even if he did, it was off the track. Going to see if he pits in for repairs here, and he will. This could very well be to retire the car, which is a rough break. He was having a pretty good run up to this point, but that is going to be the end of his night, at least in a competitive sense, as he brings it down pit road. Again, racetrack still green. And we see the brake fatigue especially start to set in. It's so hard to make turn 1, even on fresh brake pads. And as this race goes on, those brakes stay hot. You bleed a lot of brake dust. We see it on the tires of pretty much every single car on the rims. And inside the final 20 laps now, 19 to go at the line for Ryan Newman. These two, Newman and Robbie Gordon, are a country mile in front of the rest of the field right now. It's Kyle Busch in third, who trails the top 2 by 10 seconds at this point in the race.
It really is just a 2-car show at the front of this field, but we'll see what it ends up being at the end of the race. Right now, Robbie trying to gain in on Newman. Looks like he is gaining in. I don't know by what margin, but he definitely is closer than when the cycle ended. So that 31, as the run goes on, he looks to be a little quicker right now.
Ooh, ran it
as
off
he
the
runs
road
off
there.
the road. I'm gonna have to take a shallower line, gonna lose some time there. But 31, if he can just be consistent with his lines, I think he might be faster than this 38 right now.
He definitely is at least fast enough to keep Newman in his sights. You see Newman with a very good lap that last time. Gap to the 31 thanks to his mistake. Both of these guys are really starting to struggle. This is the point in the race where it really starts to matter, and staying on the road becomes a difficulty. This track is very narrow on top of the fact that there's so many braking zones and it's so hard to drive. It's really deceptively simple, this racetrack. It's only a minute lap. We always talk about it. This track only has, I believe it's 9 corners, and such a short lap, of course, and one of the longer races of the road courses by lap count because of the fact that it's so short. But it is a deceptively difficult track, and we see so many mistakes happen. And of course, even the leaders who are already out in front by 10 seconds making errors themselves unforced. So it is not an easy place to run, and Newman and Robbie Gordon, who have been the class of the field today, even themselves not perfect.
No, but the speed in those cars is just so good that it's able to mitigate the mistakes that they make. Golly, Robbie drove it in so deep into turn 1 that time.
Absolutely, and Newman makes a mistake.
Oh, Newman runs really wide.
We haven't seen that mistake. It's a common one at this racetrack. Going wide there in turn 3. Robbie tried to go up the inside into turn 4. Couldn't get the nose underneath. Newman again gets out lucky. That gap that he keeps building to that 31 continuing to pay off as he held the lead. Gordon again deep into 6, trying to close the gap. We haven't seen these two swap the lead on the racetrack yet all night. It's the closest Robbie's been. We'll see if he can get at him towards turn 1 here. Again, that exit of the final corner just helps the leader. You get off of that corner, and the margin widens down the front stretch. Not by time, mind you, just by physical distance. Gordon trying to maybe make a move here into turn number 1. Use his better brakes to his advantage. Closes the gap back up once the speed dips. See if he can pressure Newman into another mistake and get that lead. But unable to do so yet.
Newman a little cleaner that time through there. Isn't going to make the same mistake again. But Newman, extremely lucky for Robbie not to be able to take advantage of that. That was a big-time mistake. Able to hold the lead. But you have to wonder, can he hold on?
And we've seen that mistake again. That's a common mistake point in this racetrack. You just get a little too overzealous in turn 3 and run it past the curbing onto the grass. We saw a lot of that last year in the middle portion of the field. Hadn't seen that mistake out of the 2 leaders yet. That's the first time that Newman got off the racetrack in that spot. Robbie hasn't done it yet himself. And now a pit stop for Elliott Sadler. One of the cars who was on the strategy, and he has damage on his race car. Might have made the same mistake Brad Keselowski did. And he did exactly that.
Looked virtually identical. So unfortunate for Sadler, another car on that alternate strategy that we were talking about potentially having a chance to overturn this race. So now it's up to Dale Jr. and Juan Montoya to keep it on the track to make things interesting here at the end. But I'll tell you, it's pretty interesting for the lead right now.
Another car in the pits is the number 30 of Atwood. Do not believe he actually had a whole lot of damage. Well, he had damage on the right side of his race car. And I guess deciding to pit in to fix that. Not exactly sure where that came from. I believe he had that damage for quite a long time. But no incident to bring him into the pits, so he leaves the pit lane after getting repairs to the right side of his car. A lot of drivers, again, we see this. It's just atrophy of the field that always seems to take place here.
Newman has started to widen that gap once again. Robbie really needed to take advantage of that mistake. That was when he was much faster than 38. 38 able to pull away now. Robbie needed to get that lead then, but he didn't want to end up forcing his car off the road doing so.
Absolutely. Not to mention the fact, I'd just say it's less Robbie Gordon not making the move when he should. He did try to go up the inside in turn 4. It was just Newman staying composed even after making that mistake. Managed to get into turn 4. Good, and a caution flag is out.
Oh boy.
And that is going to change absolutely everything. Believe it might have been for debris. And it was Vickers who made the same mistake, so I just guessed too much debris thanks to these drivers who had gotten the wall in turn 1. So yet another driver went off there, and that is going to bring out a yellow flag. Yeah, definitely too much debris over there in that spot, and the caution flag comes out.
Now, all that strategy stuff out the window. 38, 31 can now focus on trying to win this thing for themselves. Not have to worry about potentially the 88 or the 84 staying out. Have that in the back of their minds. As Eric Norris now blowing up.
So a lot goes wrong there. Caution comes out. Newman just took the yellow flag. With 12 laps to go here from Calder Park, Robbie Gordon sits in second. Had already taken the yellow. Newman was the only one to have not taken the caution flag there. And everybody going to come back around to take this yellow flag. Really rough break there for the two drivers, Montoya and Earnhardt Jr., who were on that alternate strategy trying to make it work, and they are going to end up mired back in the pack without an out. So 12 laps to go at the moment. Under yellow flag conditions, Ryan Newman has the lead, and that'll bring everybody back into this thing. And we've seen the trouble on the restarts here. It's been a bit more of an issue for these drivers in this new race car to stay on the racetrack in the first three corners. We didn't see a lot of incidents like that. We did see them on the initial start, but under the caution or two that happened during that race, I believe. We didn't see anybody go off the racetrack like that and spin each other out. So it's been a bit of a struggle in those first couple corners, and we'll see if that struggle moves up to the leaders. See Todd Bodine's number 77 having taken third place from Kyle Busch under that last run while we were focusing on the leaders. Norris retires from the race. And we should see final pit stop here. And we will. All the leaders going to bring it down the pit lane here. Lap number 37 for the final time. As Newman leads the field down pit road. Going to be interesting to see if the 88 and 84 maybe try to stay out here. I wouldn't say they would, and it doesn't look like Junior is going to do so.
Actually runs into the back of the 5 there.
A lot of a traffic jam here going into the pits, but yeah, Junior is not going to stay out. Field into the pit lane. Casey Atwood, I believe, is going to be recipient of the lucky dog. So Atwood going to be back on the lead lap. Tires and fuel going in for the leaders. And contact! Robbie Gordon and Casey Kane get into each other in the pits. And damage to the right side of Robbie Gordon.
And that is going to be very, very costly for the 31. Could not have that happen at this point in the race. We'll see how much it slows him down, but that was pretty significant contact.
Goodness me, and that turns everything over on its head again. Heavy damage on the right side of Robbie Gordon. As we will take you to intermission here from Calder Park. Ryan Newman in the 38 car, your leader, going to be inside the final 10 laps when we go green here from Calder Park. Back from intermission here at Calder Park as we get set to go green. Ryan Newman the leader, Robbie Gordon with damage sustained from contact with Kane on pit road in second. Third is Todd Bodine, fourth Kyle Busch, and Marcos Ambrose, the hometown hero, rounds out the top 5. Pace car in. Newman to lead the field to the green flag here, as he's forced to check up to make sure he doesn't pass the pace car here. Gordon going to sit on his back bumper as we come to the start. With 9 laps to go, we'll see if the damage makes that 31 any worse for wear. But Newman to lead the field into the restart box here. Waiting for the call. And the green flag is in the air, and we are back underway. A great start by Newman from the lead. Top 4 got away well. McMurray with a lightning start in the 40, going around the outside of the 13 of Ambrose for 5th. And he cleared him before they got to turn 1. Side by side between Boyer and Stewart for 7th place. Boyer falls backwards on the outside line. Kane trying to get
Murray looking for another spot.
Man, what a start by this 40 car as he's trying to get Kyle Busch. This is for 4th. McMurray out of the corner better than the 43, and he gained 2 spots in a lap.
Wonderful restart for Jamie McMurray, an underrated road course racer. Somebody that we don't really talk about when we go to these places, but it always seems like he ends up finding himself up at the front at race's end. What a restart.
That was an unbelievable jump out of the gate to get past Ambrose before they even got to turn 1, and took advantage of Kyle Busch being offline and got him for 4th. He moves into P4. Robbie Gordon trying to keep the 38 in his sights, but Newman beginning to pull away from the lead.
Robbie gonna drive it in really deep. Has to try to use the brakes to his advantage to try to hold on here with that damage.
Issues for Allmendinger. Has a tire go down from, I believe it was like dead last on the racetrack, so he brings it down pit lane. But the battle is for the lead. Robbie Gordon trying to mitigate the effects of his damage on the right side and get back to the back bumper of Newman. Really sending it in deep to 6 once again. Newman trying to scoot away. Has led every non-pit stop lap of this race. But as we mentioned, hasn't been without a challenge. And now just 7 laps away from closing this thing out.
Gap looks like it is continuing to grow. 38 well out in front.
Bodine really got into turn 1 deep there behind Robbie Gordon. Almost ran into the back of him, locking up the tires there. Kept it out of the back bumper. Had to go wide to avoid him. And Newman off the track from the lead. Closes Robbie Gordon back in a little bit. This thing not over just yet. Another mistake out of Newman there in turn 3. Again, seems faster than than Robbie Gordon does Ryan Newman, but at 31. And once again, Newman off the track. Gordon closes in, back in the back bumper for 1st.
And Newman driving a little harder than he needed to right there, trying to get away. Robbie Gordon now closes up to the back bumper. We'll see if he's able to do anything with it. But this is about as close as he'll get, most likely, with that damage. Unless Newman starts making more mistakes. See what Robbie does down here into turn 1. Really deep down into 1. Able to get the car rotated. Very, very good corner.
Isn't letting Newman out of his sights. A little bit of a better line through turns 2 and 3 that time. Newman may be back to the gas a little sooner, but Robbie got through the corners themselves a little better. Keeping that 38 honest right now. Bodine in the catbird seat in 3rd. What a run by that 77, it must be said. Having a stellar race here tonight, and might be a touch faster than both of these leaders right now, but it's been so hard to pass tonight that he's going to need something to happen to both of these guys if he wants to get first. Newman better out of the final corner, running away from Robbie Gordon again, but he's just got to keep it on the road. We've seen he's been mistake prone, been a little volatile all night. Robbie's hoping he makes another mistake. Newman really good down the front stretch there. It was so much faster. Gordon again closes the gap up under braking. But Newman out of the corner better that time. Once again, a little bit wide. Gordon closes in again. Newman just really kind of shooting himself in the foot at the moment. And keeping Robbie Gordon in this race. Gordon
Ryan Newman able to get down the straights pretty well. But Newman really just needs to back it down here. He's faster. He pulls such a gap on the front stretch. he just really needs to back it down, because at the moment, there's no reason to push as hard as he's been pushing. He's just completely missing it right now, and he needs to back it down.
4 to go here from Calder Park. Gordon still not out of the mirror of the 38 car yet, as it's been a battle against himself is Ryan Newman. A little bit deep there into turn 1. Once again, running a little wide. Robbie Gordon closes in from second place once more. This is the closest he's been since the drop of the green. Newman cleaner through 2 and 3 that time. Bodine still sitting there, maybe faster than both of them in third. McMurray not too far behind in fourth, but would need a lot to go wrong for the top 3 in order to get up here. Battle for position between Kyle Busch and Tony Stewart for the 5th spot. And Stewart's got him. 21 car of John Andretti came into the pits. I believe he ran into the back of Truex Jr. in turn 1. And yes, he did. So that's a tough break for Andretti, who had recovered to 18th after being spun early. He falls down to 35th.
This is about the closest Robbie has been down the front stretch since the drop of the green flag. So that gap closing up.
Bodine was the one who ran it really wide there in turn 1 that time. He drops off the leaders, kept it on the racetrack. Newman, again, using a little bit of the curb. Didn't get that wide there in turn 3, but trying to use all the racetrack he can. Much, much quicker than Robbie Gordon out of turn number 5 that time. Pulls away once more, but he is one more mistake from letting that 31 get all the way back up to him. Todd Bodine closed in a ton from third on the 31. Robbie Gordon really not the section he wanted that time by. 2 to go at the line for Ryan Newman, trying to bring this thing home. These top 3 a long way out in front of McMurray. 2 Ganassi cars 4th and 5th. And the top 3 trying to settle this thing inside the final 2 laps.
Robbie really, really deep down into 1. Gets the car pointed, a very good turn 1. Newman got back to the gas a little quicker, but it looked like a bit of a net gain there. Newman really, really wide.
Towards turn number 4, Robbie Gordon trying to get underneath of Ryan Newman for the lead. Newman had to cut it a little tight. Side by side as they head down the backstretch. Robbie Gordon with the nose ahead towards 6. And he's going to make the move stick. Gordon has the lead now on with 2 laps to go. Costly mistake by Newman, and Gordon has first. I do not believe what I just saw. Robbie Gordon has the lead, and this time by down the front stretch, 1 lap to go. The 31 might have just stole this thing.
And he's driving it like he stole it right now. It is a big gap back to the 38. 31 with the damage on the side of the race car. Might bring this thing to victory lane and stay undefeated down under.
Gordon a little bit wide in turn 3, but kept it on the racetrack. Newman trying to close up from second and make his mistake. Mitigate the mistake, but I think it might be over. Towards turn 6 for the final time, Robbie Gordon's just got to get into this corner without going off the racetrack. And through turn 6, he did exactly that. Newman absolutely going to be heartbroken here tonight. Robbie Gordon just got to make it through this final corner. Looked like he was going to lose it thanks to the damage of Casey Kane. But it's not gonna happen. Robbie Gordon, King of Australia. 4 straight wins at Calder Park for the 31. Back-to-back once again. The defending champion wins it here tonight. Unbelievable finish. I do not believe it. Wow.
And what a drive. With the damage on the car, driving it in so deep, being consistent, not making those mistakes. He very easily could have driven himself out of it there just by driving it in a little too deep, but he found such a fine line. Newman was out front, didn't have a reference, and was struggling to get down into the corners the way he wanted. Just kept getting wide, and eventually it cost him.
Yeah, just got a little bit too overzealous there in turn 2. Had to take 3 compromise and got way offline. And Robbie Gordon finally got close enough to make the move and threw it up the inside into turn 4. And Newman had to cut him some slack, give him room on corner exit. And that gave Robbie Gordon the better run down the backstretch. And we saw how good the 31 car was under braking all night, and he beat him by a mile into turn 6.
And simply just an unbelievable feat here at this racetrack. 4 for 4, also was able to win the Busch race. Simply unbelievable how good he is at this racetrack.
Absolutely unbelievable. And Robbie Gordon here tonight is your winner. Back-to-back wins for the 31 car. And his 3rd win this season. The only driver to have any extra wins on the year. The only driver to win more than once in 2007. And he is the winner here tonight. I cannot believe it. An unbelievable conclusion to this race, and only leads the final 2 laps, and that is all he needed. Unreal conclusion to this race.
And a heartbreaker for Ryan Newman, but jubilation for the 31 crew. Robbie Gordon victorious again down under, and that is what you would call the poise of a champion late in that race.
That'll do it for coverage here from Calder Park, as Robbie Gordon in the 31 car is your winner here tonight. His 3rd win of the season, and once again, just cannot overstate that. 4 for 4 at this racetrack. His 3rd win of 2007. Next week, week number 8, it'll be a thriller. We head to Talladega for the Aaron's 499. But on behalf of Nate joining me in the booth here tonight, we'll catch you then, and as always, have yourself a good one.
It's a long way to the top.